Okay, image number 1, 11 Pro on the left, 15 Pro on the right. The first thing we see is that the photo taken on the 15 Pro has a wider angle than on the 11 Pro. And also, the colors are different. 15 Pro is a bit warmer and more vibrant than 11 Pro. But I cannot say that 11 Pro is doing a bad job. I think the 11 Pro has this nice natural vibe to it. And if we zoom a bit closer, we'll see that there are much more details on the 15 Pro than on the 11 Pro. And that's not a surprise. 15 Pro shoots in 24 megapixels, while 11 Pro only at 12. Photo number 2. I found this cool motorcycle, and if we zoom in, we'll see that again, the level of detail on the 15 Pro is much higher. However, if we look at colors, 15 Pro is again warmer than 11 Pro. Still, 11 Pro holds up quite alright here. Next up, 2x. This is a very interesting comparison, because 15 Pro has a software-based 2x zoom, but 11 Pro has a dedicated camera for it. In terms of detail, 11 Pro beats 15 Pro. On 11 Pro I can read what it says above the shadow, but on the 15 Pro I can just guess. I also like this background blur that the 15 Pro adds. If we pull up the 3x shot from the 15 Pro, we'll see that 11 Pro still holds up reasonably well. If we once again look at that sticker, we can see the text V2 Custom on both of them. Next up, ultra-wide, and here we can see the biggest difference. On the 11 Pro everything seems kinda hazy. The dynamic range on the 11 Pro here is really bad, and we can see it in the sky. And if we zoom in closer to this bench, we'll see that at the same 12 megapixel resolution, 15 Pro has much more detail than 11 Pro. Here's another 0.5 shot, this time indoors. Without zooming in, we can see that 15 Pro has a much better dynamic range than 11 Pro. This is especially visible in this window. It's not perfect on either of them, but on 11 Pro I can see nothing. Also, on 15 Pro there are less highlights from these lamps. But you know what's strange? The photo from 15 Pro is a bit noisier than on the 11 Pro. Also, I think the 11 Pro messed up the white balance. Same location, 1x camera. If we zoom into our favorite window, we'll see that the highlights on 11 Pro are much more prominent than on the 15 Pro. The dynamic range on 11 Pro is also much worse. But if on 11 Pro we focus on the window and then do a little bit of editing, we'll get a very comparable shot. Edited photo on 11 Pro has a natural look and looks very similar to 15 Pro, even in terms of highlights and detail. But when I was sitting there, everything looked exactly like on the photo from 11 Pro. My eyes don't have the dynamic range like on the 15 Pro, so I still saw those highlights. From this point of view, the 11 Pro gives a much more natural and realistic photos. Sometimes less processing is better. Now, low light. And without even zooming in, I can say that I like the 11 Pro more. It looks more natural and more realistic. Yes, on the 15 Pro it's brighter and has more detail, but on 11 Pro it has this nice, realistic vibe. Also, 11 Pro took 3 seconds to take this shot, while 15 Pro did it like this. Low light 2x. And here 11 Pro once again pulls ahead. The photo from 11 Pro is brighter and a bit cooler, but it has much more detail. We can see it in this text. It's readable on both, but on 11 Pro it's much better. Now, if we take a 2x shot from the 11 Pro and compare it to the 3x low light shot from the 15 Pro, we'll see that on 11 Pro there are much less detail. However, I like the vibe that 11 Pro creates. Another thing that deserves comparison is the zoom range. 11 Pro has a dedicated 2x zoom, while 15 Pro a 3x module. If we pull up the 3x shots from the 15 Pro and a zoomed in 3x shot from 11 Pro, we'll see that on the 15 Pro there are a bit more detail. 11 Pro seems a bit hazy. Without zooming in, they are really comparable. 11 Pro isn't that far behind. 5x. Without zooming in, same picture. Hazy on 11 Pro, fine on 15 Pro. But if we zoom in, we'll see that on 11 Pro the photo starts to fall apart and get those chromatic aberrations. 10x, that's the limit for 11 Pro, but not the limit for 15 Pro. Hazy on 11 Pro, normal on 15 Pro. 10x on 11 Pro is a no-go, the image completely falls apart, but on 15 Pro I can find use for that. The furthest the 15 Pro goes is 15x, and I don't know how this works, but the 15x photo on 15 Pro looks better than 10x photo. In side-by-side comparison, it's easy to see how much better the 15 Pro is in terms of zoom. I cannot say that 11 Pro does a bad job here. For a 4-year-old phone without all those fancy processing algorithms, it holds on pretty much okay. Another issue that needs addressing is flaring. If we look at these two photos, we can clearly see how far Apple have come in fighting flaring. On 15 Pro there is just this one minor flare, but on 11 Pro, oof, that's a lot. Next up, portraits 1x. The photo on the 15 Pro is brighter and more colorful. If we zoom in on my face, we'll see that on the 15 Pro there are much more details, again because of those 24 megapixel shots. However, the edge separation and the artifacts are pretty much identical. The artifact is the same on the 11 Pro and on the 15 Pro, but the separation of hair on the 15 Pro is a bit better and more natural. I like that. Still, in terms of colors, the uniformed look of the 11 Pro to me looks more homey, more welcoming than on the 15 Pro. 2x portraits, and here the difference in colors isn't that visible. The photo from 15 Pro has more detail and better edge separation. It seems to me like 11 Pro just missed the focus completely. Also, the edge separation on both is really similar. And how about low-light portraits? The photo from 11 Pro looks more true to life. This flare from the street lamp was present in real life, and on the 15 Pro we don't see it. 15 Pro here again has more detail because of that main sensor. But on the 11 Pro the colors are much more accurate once again. However, despite nice colors, the photo on 11 Pro is much noisier than on the 15 Pro. Okay, portraits are similar on both, but 15 Pro has a dedicated macro mode. And from my experience I can say that macro mode on 15 Pro is quite finicky to use. If you don't have the opportunity to move that close to the subject on the 15 Pro, you may just use a 3x camera and get roughly the same shot as on the 11 Pro. Like, look at these two shots, which one do you like more? But if you can move closer and you know how to use the macro mode, look what you can do. Look at all these little hairs on this leaf. But I still do like the photos from 11 Pro. Let's check out the selfie camera. The flaring is present on both phones. On 15 Pro it's a bit less than on the 11 Pro, but still really visible. In terms of details, 15 Pro is a bit better, but not as good as you would expect. The 11 Pro looks a bit noisier than 15 Pro, but the colors on both phones are basically identical. And in low-light portraits, 15 Pro just destroys 11 Pro. The selfie from 15 Pro is much brighter and has much more detail. The photos on 11 Pro look more natural and realistic. 15 Pro does a lot of image processing, and the photos end up looking sterile and artificial. I think if you wanna take good photos and you're not afraid to do some editing, the 11 Pro is still a really good camera. In terms of videos, the difference is really slim. For example, 4K 60 on a bright sunny day looks almost identical on both phones. They have very similar colors and the level of details. 15 Pro is just a tiny bit better. Low-light videos is where 11 Pro gets absolutely destroyed. The video on 11 Pro has almost no detail, is super noisy and is a bit warmer than it should be. 15 Pro can also do cinematic videos at 4K 30 FPS. 11 Pro doesn't have that. However, if you have straight hands, you can take pretty cinematic videos on 11 Pro. For example, here I like the video from 11 Pro much better. The separation of foreground and background is natural here. In terms of video stabilization, 15 Pro pulls ahead once again. It has a dedicated action mode that makes videos super stable. Look at the goofy me running around with the phones. On 11 Pro everything is super shaky, so if you wanna take stable videos from 11 Pro, you have to be either a surgeon or get yourself one of these. As for the slow motion, it's identical on both phones to the last pixel. In terms of videos, 11 Pro and 15 Pro look really similar, but 15 Pro has one ace up its sleeve: log. With log I can take this flat video and color grade it to my liking, and it will end up with more details than even the best videos from 11 Pro. I think in terms of videos, both phones are really similar.